One day, a giant dragon suddenly attacks humanity, and it is followed by a group of monsters that no one knows where they came from, and they were destroying everything in front of them, killing people without distinguishing between young or old. And at the same time, the crime rate increases in a terrifying way all over the world. Governments are powerless to do anything, not able to deal with the monsters nor with the criminals, and all people become afraid and terrified. But suddenly, the first hero in the history of humanity appears, and his name is Zero, and he stands in front of the monsters to fight them, and he manages to eliminate them all, and he goes to the giant dragon to kill it, and he uses his power and cuts off its head. And finally the hero Zero manages to save humanity from the power of evil, and he arrests the criminals one after another, and he brings back the light to the world again, and since then, he establishes an organization for superheroes, so that they follow in the footsteps of the great hero Zero. And after that, the crime rate begins to decrease, and the world returns to live in peace again. But the hero Zero suddenly disappears without anyone knowing his location, and he returns to his normal life as a simple ordinary young man named Lynn, and he is standing in front of one of the screens, and he is watching people while they are watching a documentary about the hero Zero. And he says, 5 years ago, I was the hero who saved humanity, but now I am Lynn, an unemployed young man looking for a job. And while he is standing, he hears the sound of people screaming from excitement, so he goes to them to see what is happening, and he finds a music band performing. So the leader of the band, Shishin, goes up on the stage and holds the microphone, and he says to the people, I am happy that everyone is here in my show, to witness our level promotion in the heroes organization. But suddenly, the Black Hand gang comes from among the people, and they open fire on the band using their weapons. But the leader Shishin manages to catch the bullets with his hand. So the gang leader says to him, you are the ones who used to hurt me, and because of that I will kill you. So the band members respond to him, you are criminals escaping from justice. How dare you come to us and ruin our show? Do you not know what we do to anyone who comes against us? We will make you regret what you have done. So people look at the gang and the music band, and they realize that they will kill each other now. So they run away quickly from the place, because they are afraid to get hurt. So the gang leader orders his men to pull out their pistols and shoot at them. But suddenly the band uses their superpowers, and they manage to pull the guns away from them. So Shishin says to the gang, you must be confused now after we took your weapons. So the leader looks at him angrily and orders his men to attack them. So the band uses their musical weapons to fight them. And one of them manages to eliminate 2 members of the gang. And during that, one of the men tries to hit one of the band members, but that member has the ability of invisibility, and he manages to avoid his attacks. So some of the men go to him to hit him and help their teammate, but the member uses the cloning ability and manages to kill them all at once. So Shishin goes to the gang leader, and says to him, you are very stupid to come here. So the leader looks at him with intense anger, and says to him, I will destroy you for what you said, and he runs quickly at him and tries to punch him in the face. But Shishin easily avoids his attacks, and comes from behind him and hits him hard in his stomach, and the leader is thrown strongly to the ground. So Shishin says to him, leave from here quickly, I do not want to see you again. But the leader does not surrender and stands up again, to continue the fight. But suddenly Lynn comes from behind him and handcuffs his leg, and says to him, you spread terror among the people, and also attack the music band. I will hold you until the police come to take you, and if you move I will increase the number of handcuffs. So the leader looks at him shocked, and says to himself, the cuffs he has are only with high-ranking police officers. That means Shishin betrayed. And we go back to the past. At that time Shishin meets the gang leader at night, to make a deal together, and he says to him, I want you tomorrow to come and pretend that you will kill me, and then I will enter with my band and defeat you, so I can increase my rank in the heroes organization, and take this bank card with half of the money, and I will transfer you the rest after you finish your mission. So the leader responds, I did not expect you to do this just to increase your level. Do you know what will happen if the organization finds out? And we return to the present. And when the gang leader feels the betrayal, he becomes very angry, and says to him, how could you do this to me? Now I will show you my real power. And the leader transforms into a giant person. So Shishin looks at him confused, and does not know what to do against him. So the leader punches him in the face and throws him away. And when the band members see what happened, they get afraid for Shishin, and jump at the leader to hit him and take revenge. But of course the leader manages to defeat them easily, and says to them, the situation has changed now, you have become very weak compared to me. And suddenly, a person comes from far away, and says to him, I am Zan, a member of the heroes organization, and I will not allow you to harm heroes like me. And also if I kill you I might level up. And Zan takes out his mechanical gloves, and tries to shoot a laser from them, but the gloves are broken and shoot backward. So Zan is thrown away and falls on the ground. So Lynn goes to him and says, are you still alive? So Zan responds, while injured, do not worry about me. I have not used all my power yet. I am a hero and it is impossible for me to lose this easily, and Zan stands up and runs towards the leader, and jumps at him and tries to hit him, but of course he cannot because he is very weak compared to him, and the leader manages to throw him into a trash container, but still Zan does not surrender, and stands up again to fight, and takes out combat tools. He has to use them, but still it is useless, and every time he tries, the leader hits him and throws him away. So the leader looks at him with intense anger, and says to him, I am tired of you, I will attack you now and destroy you, and the leader runs at him with all his power and speed. So Zan asks Lynn to run away from here, because of course he does not know Lynn's real power. So Lynn says to him, at this rate you will die, and he looks at him and feels sorry for him, and decides that he will help him in his fight, and he rushes quickly at the leader, and takes out his giant hammer, and brings it down on his head, and he manages to eliminate him easily. So Zan looks at him shocked and amazed, and cannot believe what he saw, and asks how he managed to eliminate him with one hit, and asks him that they work together, and says to him, with my brilliant mind and your terrifying power, we will be able to defeat anyone who stands against us. And suddenly, a car arrives and stops in front of them, and the strongest heroine in the heroes' organization gets out of it, whose name is Mono, and she sees the chaos caused by the gang and Lynn and Zan, and when she looks to the other side, she notices Lynn sitting with Zan because he is injured, so Mono goes to them and asks them what happened in this place. So Zan looks at her and cannot believe himself that he is standing in front of the best heroine in the organization, and he says to her, I am a registered hero in the heroes' organization. And while I was walking I saw a criminal attacking Shishin, so I took out my equipment and fought him, and I managed to defeat him, me and my assistant. So Mono looks at him surprised and asks him, where is your assistant? So Zan looks to the other side and does not find Lynn next to him, and he stands confused not knowing what to tell her. And at sunset, Lynn returns to his house again, and he hears the voice of his older sister arguing with her coworker. And her coworker asks her, why do you want to leave the job? Because he loves her and does not want her to leave and abandon him. So she responds, I applied to the research institute and I got accepted in it. And you do not know what I did to get this approval. And she hits him and throws him outside the apartment and closes the door in his face. So Lynn enters to her and his sister asks him, did you find a job or not yet? So he responds, honestly, it is difficult for me to find a job in this world. So his sister looks at him angrily and says to him while shouting at him, so you did not find a job, right? You have been unemployed for 5 years. Do you want to live as a burden in this house? And not only that, you also do not help me with household chores. You do not even clean your room every day, and you throw your dirty clothes everywhere. If my father and mother were alive now, they would not allow this chaos. And while they are sitting arguing, Zan enters to them and introduces himself in front of his sister, and says to her, I am here to convince your brother to apply to the heroes organization. So Lynn's sister takes the card from him and asks him, does that mean my brother will find an official job? And she looks at him happily and agrees with him on everything. But Lynn is against this job, because he does not like to be a hero and does not prefer to save people himself, but he is forced to agree to the offer, after Zan and his sister pressured him to go. And on the next day, Zan and Lynn go to the heroes organization, and while they are walking in the place, they see a statue of the hero Zero, so Zan says to him, this is the greatest hero in the history of humanity. And those around him were his assistants. But after he disappeared for a period, the heroes organization was established, and they also made a law that divides the heroes into categories. But unfortunately this law caused many fights between the members and among them, because the more battles you win your level increases. And because of that many heroes left the organization, so when Lynn hears this he becomes very surprised, and says to himself, but I do not remember that I had assistants. And after that Zan takes him, and they move from their place, so that Lynn can do the guild joining tests. And after a while, Lynn reaches the first test, and a woman who works there accompanies them, and they go to a very strong person named Yatin while he is training, and the employee calls him to do the test for Lynn. So Yatin looks at Lynn excited, and says to him, all you have to do is manage to hold me for only 3 minutes, and then you will have passed the test. But be careful, most people failed this exam. So Lynn looks at him while laughing, and says to him, what if I manage to hit you? When Zan and the employee hear these words from Lynn, they become very surprised, and Zan says to him, yes, you defeated a gang leader with 1 hit, but Mr. Yatan is a second-rank hero. But Lynn does not respond to him and goes to Yaten so they can start the test. So Yaten looks at him and laughs at Lynn's confidence in himself, and transforms both of his hands into a sharp weapon, and prepares for the fight. So Lynn also brings out his giant hammer. So Yaten attacks him with great speed, but Lynn manages to block the attack using his hammer. So Zan looks at him surprised, and says it is impossible for anyone to block a strike from Yaten. This is the first time I see this in my life. So Yaten says to Lynn, you were actually serious. You are not as weak as I thought. I have seen many people, but you are the strongest one doing this test. I will face you with all my power now. And suddenly Yaten moves with great speed and comes from behind him and hits him. But Lynn notices him and avoids his attack. So Yaten grabs a big rock from the ground and throws it at him, and keeps throwing many rocks at him to hit him. But Lynn manages to destroy them all and jumps at him, and they clash together in a very strong fight. So Yaten says to him mockingly, is this your real power? It is impossible that normal attacks like these hit me. And he raises his hand up and brings it down on him. So Lynn looks at him while laughing and blocks his successive strikes. So Yaten jumps at him and activates the speed skill and tries to deliver very strong and fast punches. So Lynn waits for the right moment and blocks his strike and hits him with his knee in his nose and breaks it and manages to knock him to the ground and wins the fight. So Zan and the employee look at him while they are shocked and cannot believe themselves that an ordinary young man like Lynn can defeat Yaten so easily. And the employee says to him, while unable to speak, you have obtained the highest grade in the test. Now it is time for the theoretical test. So Lynn looks shocked because he does not know how to solve any written exam at all. And on the next day, Yaten wakes up from sleep after he fainted, and he finds himself in a hospital bed and the heroine Mono sitting next to him. And he says, what happened? The last thing I remember is that I was testing a new hero who wants to join the organization. And when Yaten remembers what happened, he stands up startled from the bed, as if he just woke up from a nightmare, and holds his head while shocked, and says, I lost the fight. I cannot remember anything except that I was defeated. So Mono says to him, it is better for you to forget what happened. The hero who came was very strong, at least first rank if not higher, but unfortunately he failed in all the other tests, and Mono gives him Lynn's test paper. And when Yaten sees it, he stands shocked, because his written exam was a complete failure. And when Yaten reads the last question in the exam, which is write your thoughts about heroes, he finds that Lynn wrote, I do not want to be a hero at all. And on the other side, the time comes to announce the test results, and Zan goes with Lynn to see what he did. And Lynn finds himself occupying the last rank in the weakest category available. So Zan looks at him and laughs at him a lot, because he failed in all the theoretical tests except the practical test. But he quickly tries to comfort him, because he finds Lynn angry about the results, and says to him, with time you will improve. The important thing is to have determination and persistence to become better. So, Lynn says to him, when a person is very weak, it will affect his teammates in the team. And while they are talking, they notice that there is a group of strong people bullying a weak young man, and they say to him, take out everything you have now, otherwise we will beat you until you die, and then we will take everything you have as well, and we will level up. So Lynn looks at everyone present in the organization, and discovers that all people are standing not caring about what is happening, and not even trying to intervene to save that weak man. And at the same time, that person raises his voice and calls for help from all the heroes. So the bullies look at him and laugh at him. And the leader says to him, do you think that anyone will come to save you? Even the stupid hero Zero, if he saw you he would pretend not to notice and walk away. And the leader throws him on the ground. But quickly Lynn catches him before he gets hurt, and looks at them with intense anger. So Zan goes at them to hit them, because they insulted the hero Zero, and he tries to deliver a punch to their leader. But the leader manages to catch his hand easily, and says to him, you look like one of Zero's foolish fans, and that man prepares to hit him with his hand. But suddenly Lynn comes and saves Zan, and says to him, no one raises a hand on my friend while I am here. I will not allow you also to insult the hero Zero in front of me. So the bullies prepare to attack him, but a strange man comes from beside them, and says to them, I am a third-rank hero. How dare you insult Zero in a place like this? So the bullies look at him while confused, and run away quickly because they are afraid of him. So Zan and the weak man stand shocked by his power. And after that, the weak man introduces himself to them, and says to them, my name is Yan, thank you for saving me from the bullies. And the hero who appeared suddenly says, my name is Shizen, although my level is not the best, but everyone here is afraid of me. But you can deal with me normally. Honestly, I have not had friends for a long time. So Lynn goes to him and suggests that he joins their team. So Shizen looks at him with tears in his eyes and says to him, I have been for 5 years not knowing anyone here. You are the first one who asked me to cooperate with you. Thank you very much. And Shizen starts crying because he cannot believe himself. Finally, after a long wait, he has friends, and he says to them, I just have a small problem, that my luck is very bad, and also I make everyone around me have bad luck. So the three of them look at each other confused by what he says. And he says to them, unfortunately, this is the truth. I was always known among my friends as unlucky, because since I was young I was in an orphanage after my father and mother died. But suddenly one day that place burned with everything in it. And after that I went to another orphanage, but also after a few days, many earthquakes happened and destroyed the whole place. and I managed to survive for the second time, and after that every time I go to a new place it gets completely destroyed, and I realize that I must live in the street. When the three hear that they become afraid of him and step back away from him. So he says to them, but one time I was lucky. Because when I was young a bear attacked me, and the hero Zero came and saved me from it. And since then I decided that I will become a hero like him. And until now I have never forgotten my dream. And Shizen goes to a pillar in the place, and becomes very excited and hits it with his hand. So the pillar breaks and the whole place starts collapsing. And the people in the place try to run away, and Yan gets seriously injured while he is running. And also the statue of the hero Zero was about to fall on a child, but quickly Lynn goes to it and destroys it before it falls on her, and says to Shizen, go quickly save the people and do not just stand like that. After the incident ends, Shizen goes to the hospital to visit Yan, so Lynn reassures him that he is fine and still alive. But he is seriously injured, so as soon as Yan sees him he asks him to stay away from him immediately. But Lynn goes to him and says to him, you should not talk to someone from your team like that. If you hold on he should stay with you all the time. And after a while, Lynn's team is sitting in their headquarters and Lynn and Zan are enjoying their time, and at the same time, Shizan is sitting watching the movements of a dangerous gang, while they are delivering a powerful weapon to a group of important individuals. So Shizen calls Yan to show them the equipment he made, and he throws Yan's glasses in the air, and suddenly Yan appears through them. And this is his hero ability, which is his power to teleport using his glasses. So Zan takes the mechanical leg from Yan and tries it, but he cannot control it and flies into the air. At the same time the gang is standing in front of the people who will buy the weapon, which is a device that turns anything into a giant monster. So the man who will buy asks the gang leader to test the weapon before taking it, so the leader executes his request and starts operating the device. And he manages to turn dirty water into a giant monster. And also the device can control the monster as he wants. So the man stands amazed by this weapon, and is about to give them the money to buy it. But suddenly, Lynn's team comes from behind them, and tells them surrender yourselves now, you will be arrested because you are using a weapon dangerous to humanity. So the men standing take out their pistols to shoot at them, but they manage to avoid the bullets, and Yan takes glasses from his pocket, and throws them at them, and manages to teleport himself to them in a blink of an eye, and takes their weapons and returns again. So the gang leader controls the monster and orders it to attack them. So Shizen takes out a machine gun and fires many bullets at it, and he manages to disable it for a while, and it looks at them angrily and runs after them. So when Zan sees the monster coming at them he feels fear, and says what will we do now? So Lynn takes out his hammer and hits it with it, and manages to throw it away. But unfortunately he throws it into the middle of the city among civilians. So the monster starts chasing people and tries to eat them. But as soon as they see it they run quickly, so Lynn comes in front of it and hits it with his hammer, and manages to throw it away. So Zan comes running at full speed, and says to him, this way you will destroy the whole city, this way you will spread panic among people. I found a useful weapon that can help us in this fight, which is a 100% water purifier weapon. If we hit it with this we will be able to defeat it. And Zan rushes at it quickly using his mechanical shoe and enters it, but he cannot get out of it. So Lynn goes to him and pulls him strongly, and when they both look at the monster, there is a spot of clean water in its body. So Zan rushes at it again to use his weapon on it, but the monster brings out arms from itself and tries to block his path. But Zan manages to avoid all the strikes, and jumps on it and stabs it with his weapon, and at the same time, Lynn is standing watching him while amazed, and indeed Zan manages to eliminate the monster completely. So when people know that the monster is dead, they become very happy and dance in the street, and thank Lynn's team for saving them. So Shizen and Yan go to Lynn, and ask him, did you manage to defeat the monster by yourself? So he responds, no, Zan is the one who handled it alone. After that they return to their headquarters again, and they find that their results are increasing after defeating the monster today. But while they are going back they find a child in the street that they feel sorry for. So they take her with them, because they felt that she has no family and also sleeps in the street. And while they are sitting, the heroine Mono knocks on them and enters to sit with them, and says to them, I heard that you defeated a giant monster in the city today, and also I knew that you found this girl in the street and took her. But this girl is not an ordinary person. I gathered information about her, and Mono gives them a device that has all the information, so Yan goes to the television and turns it on. So she tells them Mato years ago, a genetic development company suddenly appeared, and established many charitable associations in this world, for homeless children in the streets, but in reality it was a bit different. They wanted these children for genetic experiments, and the girl that you brought is one of the experiments, and not only that, she is the only successful experiment among thousands of failed experiments. So Zan asks her what will happen if the experiment failed, so Mono responds to him, sadly unfortunately the child dies. When Lynn hears this he becomes very angry. to the point that the furniture of the house starts moving from his power, and says where were the heroes in that year, all of them are there only for fame, and none of them cares about saving people. And suddenly Lynn releases a great power that could have destroyed the house, but he quickly calms down, and says to them while smiling, sorry I cannot control my emotions. So Mono says over the years, we sent messages to all the heroes through the organization, but they were not reaching them at all, and when we investigated the matter, we discovered the bitter truth, and it became clear to us that there is an important person in the organization, involved with the genetic development company, and he is the origin of all the evil that happened, and he is supposed to be the guardian of the city and our leader, and this person is the president of the heroes organization himself. And after that, Lynn sits with himself and in his hand is the information device, and he remembers moments from his life, and says I did not want to be a hero, but it seems that no one will be able to do this mission except me. Most heroes registered in the heroes organization register only for fame and money, so I must act, and save the children from the evil of these people. After a while Lynn's team goes to Mono's house, to make a suitable plan to stop the president of the heroes organization, and Mono says to them we will not be able to defeat him alone, because he will have many guards with him. So I asked for help from my sister Baston, a second-rank heroine, and also I asked for help from some strong people. They are not here now, but you will see them in the battle. Our goal from this mission is to take the medicine they give to the children, so we can make a vaccine from it, and save the children you brought before they die. If we fail in this mission, thousands of children will die in a moment. When Baston looks at Lynn's team, she says to Mono angrily, are we really going to rely on these people? They look weak and stupid as well, so Mono responds to her, do not worry. Lynn is the only one who can save the city. Yes, he is from the weakest categories, but I have seen him many times in strong battles. He even defeated a giant monster in the middle of the city. The important thing is that we must unite now and defeat the president. And we will not be able to do that if we keep arguing with each other. At night, Lynn's team watches the president, while he is standing waiting for his assistant to take from him a dose of the medicine, but as soon as the plane arrives, the people with Mono decide to attack the president on their own, so Mono looks at them angrily because she did not give them the signal. So the president orders his men to attack them, and they clash together in a very strong fight, and while the president is standing watching them, he notices Lynn coming from behind him, and at the same time, his assistant takes himself and tries to escape from the plane, but Baston throws ice arrows at them and manages to destroy the plane. When the president sees that Baston destroyed the plane, he orders one of his men to shoot at her with his sniper, and indeed he manages to hit her and knock her to the ground, so Yen goes to her to check on her. At the same time, Lynn and Mono are standing in front of the president, and Lynn asks her, is this president very strong? So she says to him he is a first-rank hero. Anyway, go to the president's assistant, and I will try to stop the president himself. So Lynn listens to her and goes to him quickly, but he finds there a girl working with the assistant trying to fight him. Her name is Asha, and he manages to avoid her attacks and throws her at the assistant, so Zan comes to help Lynn, so Asha goes and attacks Zan. So Lynn takes advantage of Asha being distracted from the president's assistant and goes to fight him, and takes out his giant hammer, and rushes at him quickly and hits him, and throws him away, and attacks him again. At the same time, Zan enters into a strong fight with Asha, but she suddenly disappears, so Zan stands waiting for her calmly, and as soon as she attacks him suddenly, he manages to hit her first and knock her to the ground. But she does not surrender and stands up again and prepares for the fight, and says to him, I will not allow you to defeat me this easily, and rushes at him and enters into a very strong fight with him, and manages to stab him with the knife she has. On the other side, Yen goes to Baston and finds her lying on the ground, and extends his hand to her to help her stand, so she asks him, why did you come here? You will not be able to fight with me. I do not need your help. But suddenly the man with the sniper shoots at them, so quickly Baston makes an ice wall to block the bullets, but he fires a strong shot through which he manages to destroy the wall and throws Baston away, so Yen goes to her quickly and catches her before she falls, and teleports quickly using his glasses, and they hide above the trees. But the man follows them and stands in front of them, so Baston throws ice arrows at him and manages to freeze him, but suddenly he comes from behind them, and makes a strong electric field and traps Baston in it, and goes to Yan quickly and kicks him hard, and puts his foot on his face, and points his mechanical hand toward Baston to shoot a laser at her and kill her. At the same time, Mono stands in front of the president of the organization, and takes out ice from her hand, and prepares for the fight, and quickly the president creates arrows from nothing and throws them at her. But Mono manages to block them all, and rushes at him suddenly and tries to hit him, but she cannot and steps back, and he says to her, you are really strong, but you do not compare to my power at all. So Mono looks at him angrily and rushes at him, but suddenly the president hits her in her stomach, and brings his hand down hard on her back so Mono falls to the ground unconscious. So the president grabs her tightly by her hair, and asks her, "Are you regretting what you did?" So she responds while smiling, "A hero never regrets anything he did. Even if I am defeated now, another person will come and kill you," and Mono makes ice from her hand and tries to hit him suddenly. But the president notices and grabs her hand, and destroys the ice in an instant, and slams her head hard into the ground, and says to her, "You are a bunch of stupid people. You do not understand anything, nor do you have power, and you came yourselves to defeat me. I have never seen more arrogance than this. How do you call yourself a hero while you are in this state?" On the other side, the president's assistant becomes very angry at Lynn, and says to him, "You have not seen my strongest power yet. Your death will be by my hands today." And he injects himself with a dose of the medicine, and transforms into someone much stronger, and rushes at him and tries to hit him, but Lynn steps back and avoids the attack, and comes from behind him and delivers a punch to him. But the assistant notices and blocks it, and enters into a strong clash with him. But in the end Lynn manages to hit him in his face, and also in his stomach, and throws him away, and rushes at him and puts his foot on his face, and says to him, "What do you think about your situation now? You are very weak compared to me." And in the end Lynn manages to defeat him easily. At the same time, Zan stands up from the ground after he was stabbed by Asha, and says to her, "I want to talk to you for a moment. I know that you were forced to do this. What do you think about joining my team? I will offer you a new life that suits you." So she responds, "You are saying that just so I do not kill you and spare you. But that will not happen. You are just trying to save yourself. I will never be deceived this easily." So he responds to her, "But that was not my intention. If you continue on the same path, a day may come when you die or get arrested, and everything will end for you. Is this the life you want? There may not have been heroes before, but now there are. You can change your life for the better. I want you to choose your path correctly. Either join me and become a hero, or kill me now and continue your life like this." So Asha looks at him while crying and drops the knife from her hand, and decides that she will go with him. On the other side, the mechanical man keeps hitting Yan in his face, and says to him, "There is no need to resist, you will die anyway." But Yan does not surrender, and takes out a bomb and throws it at him. But the mechanical man throws it away before it explodes, and rushes at him and hits him hard in his stomach. So Bastan says to him, "I will give you the money you want, just leave Yan alone." So he responds to her, "I do not agree, because this is not my ethics," and prepares his hand to release a laser from it and fire it at her. But Yan throws his glasses at the mechanical man, and teleports himself quickly to him, and tries to deliver a strong punch to his face. But of course he is not affected, and Yan looks at him shocked. So he says to him, "You really seem like you want to die. I will grant you your wish," and hits him hard in his face several times, and delivers a final punch to his face, and Yan falls to the ground unable to move. So Baston looks at him while crying and screams loudly. Nevertheless, Yan tries to resist his injury and stand up again, but the mechanical man does not give him a chance to do anything, and strikes him hard with both hands, and Yan falls to the ground unconscious. So Baston looks at him not believing herself, because she thinks that Yan has died, and the mechanical man points the laser toward Baston to kill her as well. But she looks at him angrily and screams loudly, and traps him in a giant block of ice, and manages to split him into two halves, and goes quickly to Yan to check on him while crying. At the same time, the president is holding Mono by her neck, and is about to kill her, and says to her, "Do you think because you are a famous hero I will not be able to kill you? As long as you came here yourself, then you will not leave safely." But quickly Mono grabs his hand and traps him in an ice block. So he says to her, "Do you think that this way you defeated me?" But suddenly Lynn comes from above and lands behind the president, and hits him hard in his face, using his hammer, and throws him away, and extends his hand to Mono to help her get up from the ground. And she thanks him for coming to save her at the last moment, and says to him, "Your power truly exceeds imagination. It exceeded all my expectations." So the president stands up and takes out from his pocket a dose of the medicine and injects himself with it, and transforms into a giant and very powerful monster, and throws explosive arrows at them, but they both manage to avoid them. And he says to them, "Now I have become in the legendary category." So Mono looks at him shocked by his power. So quickly the president throws his arrows at her. But he is quickly shocked when he sees Lynn blocking the arrows and saving Mono. So Lynn rushes at him while holding his hammer and brings it down on him. So the president tries to make a shield to block his attack, but the strike is stronger than his expectations, and comes down on him hard, and the president stands up again while injured, but he does not surrender, and comes quickly from behind Lynn to surprise him and hit him. But Lynn avoids the attack, and not only that, he avoids all his strikes with tremendous speed. So the president looks at him shocked and asks himself how, "I cannot even touch him." But in the end Lynn gets bored of him, and grabs his hand and twists it hard and throws him into the air, and jumps at him and brings down his hammer on him, and manages to destroy him completely. After that, Asha returns while supporting Zan, and says to them Zan convinced me to join his team, and while they are standing talking, Baston comes to them carrying Yan unconscious, and says to them while crying please save him before he dies. And on the next day Yan and Zan are in the hospital being treated from their injuries, and Baston is sitting with Yan and feeding him. So Lynn and Mono enter to him. So Yan says to him I cannot believe that you are not injured like us. So he responds while smiling because I am not weak like you. So Mono says to them the Heroes organization wanted to reward you and give you special training to increase your power and your level. So Zan and Yan strongly agree, but Lynn refuses to participate with them, and says to them I am very strong and I do not need training like this. So they say to him there is no hero without training. How will you increase your level? This way you will stay in the weakest category forever. If you think that just because you managed to defeat 2 first-rank people, there is still a legendary category that you will not be able to fight. So Lynn responds to him if all of you gather against me, you will not be able to defeat me. I will enter with you in a challenge. If all of you defeat me in a fight I will train with you. But if I defeat you I will not go anywhere. After that, they all go up to the hospital roof and prepare to start the fight, and the 4 of them rush at him and try to hit him, but Lynn is very fast and avoids all their attacks at the same time, and none of them can touch him, and Baston attacks him suddenly to surprise him, but Lynn is focused and aware, and manages to block her attacks, and also punches her hard in her face and throws her away. So Asha goes to her and holds her before she gets hurt. So Lynn apologizes to her because he got a bit carried away. So Asha removes her cloak and attacks him with Mono, and they enter with him into a strong clash, but they still cannot hit him with any strike. So Mono launches ice at him, but Lynn manages to avoid it and destroy it. So Mono looks at him while smiling and traps him in a giant block of ice, and says to him while laughing no one can escape from my ice. But suddenly Lynn destroys the ice and throws Mono away, so Asha comes from behind him and tries to hit him with the knife, but Lynn senses her and hits her first in her stomach, and goes to Zan who was trying to escape and punches him in his face as well, and Lynn manages to win this fight, and says to them did you know now that I do not need training, and Lynn leaves them and walks away. At night, Lynn's sister scolds him because he brought the girl who was experimented on with her dog to their house, and says to him I cannot even afford you alone, so how will I afford them, and also they will make chaos in the house. So the girl and her dog beg her to let them live with her, so when Lynn's sister looks at them, she feels sorry for them and agrees that they live with them. On the next day, Lynn's sister goes to her job with the girl's dog, and takes it with her to perform experiments on it and increase its intelligence, and says maybe if I make you better you can take care of my useless brother. And after that Lynn's sister enters the lab where she works, and her boss opens for her, and says to her start the experiments yourself, because I am not free to do them with you now. At the same time, Lynn's team goes to the Heroes organization, because there will be an announcement for a new leader of the organization. And while they are standing, the leader of the music band Shishin goes to Lynn and greets him, and says to him I want to learn from you how to be a real hero, but Lynn is not interested in training anyone, and tries to refuse him. After a while, the ceremony of appointing a new president begins in front of the heroes present, and the surprise is that the new president is Mono's older brother, and he takes the microphone and speaks, and says I am honored to be the president of the Heroes organization. Today I came to start with you a new page. We want to rebuild the organization together, to maintain the stability of the city, and the president finishes his speech and greets them and leaves. So Lynn looks at Mono and finds her confused and not happy like the rest of the heroes. And after a while, Mono leaves them and goes to meet her brother, and says to him you surely did not become the president to bring me back home, right? So he responds to her do not worry I am here for something else, but we have already chosen you to marry the son of the Aoyang family, and this is after you killed the previous president, who was a member of that family, and this is the least we can do to avoid their anger, and for that you must prepare well. So she looks at him sadly, so her brother goes to her and grabs her face hard, and says to her I do not want to see this sadness on you again. Your friends that you are going with will never help you escape, I think you know what we can do. So Mono looks at him and starts crying. So Lynn's team all enters on them, so Mono's brother says to him you are Lynn, right? I heard many legends about you, and I knew that you managed alone to defeat the president of this organization. What do you think about joining my family so we can develop together? So Lynn's team looks at him and they are happy with the offer, but Lynn himself refuses, and says to him I am not interested in you. So he responds to him while smiling when I want something, honestly I did not want you with us, but if it was not for the head of my family you would have been dead now. I want you to think calmly, because if you make a wrong decision it will not be in your interest. So Lynn says to him come anytime if you want to fight me, that is, if you can even do it. So Mono's brother looks at him angry, and activates his ability to paralyze whoever is in front of him, and he manages to make all the heroes present fall to the ground, but Lynn is not affected by this ability. And Lynn looks at him angrily and releases a tremendous aura from himself, so Mono's brother steps back and spits blood from his mouth. So Lynn says to him mockingly, if you still want to fight after what I did to you, let's go. And Lynn leaves him and walks away from him, and goes to Shizan and checks on him, after he was greatly affected by Mono's brother's ability. So Mono goes to her brother and asks him, why are you doing this? So he responds angrily, it is none of your business. I do whatever I want at any time, and no one will be able to stop me. And he says to himself, I wanted to bring him here and teach him a lesson. But it seems Lynn is very dangerous. After a while, Lynn walks with his team, and they say to him, Zan, are you still going to fight the president again? I feel that he is not bringing us anything good at all. You seem to be in big trouble. And we feel that Mono is in great danger. When we entered on them, they were arguing intensely. So he responds to them, that is why I want to monitor them. And he asks Shizan to go and watch Mono and find out from her what is happening. Suddenly Lynn receives a call from his sister while she is in the lab, and she says to him, I did experiments on the dog and they all succeeded. Can you come pass by me and take it home? So a scientist colleague of hers at work enters to her and asks her about the experiments she is doing. So she responds, it is going well. The dog now can read easily, and can also learn by itself. As for its vital body indicators, they are very good. No strange signs appeared in it. So the scientist colleague looks at her with an evil look in his eyes, and leaves her and walks away. After he leaves, her former coworker who used to love her comes to her. So Lynn's sister looks at him angrily and says to him, why did you come now? I am busy and not free. So he responds to her, I came here to tell you important news. You must escape from here immediately. The supervisor of your experiments at work is supported by the two biggest evil families in the city. And they have hidden motives and want you important so they can reach their goal. You cannot continue in this place. So Lynn's sister looks at him shocked. But she does not believe him, and thinks that he did that to ruin her life. So her former coworker holds her hand, and says to her, there is no time for this talk. Come with me and we will talk later. So Lynn's sister pushes his hand and shouts at him, and leaves him and walks away. So her former coworker orders his men to send someone to protect her, and threatens them that if anything happens to her they will be in big trouble. At the same time, Lynn and Zan are walking in the streets of the city, and while they are walking, Lynn notices something strange coming from a narrow street and runs quickly, so Zan goes after him while running and not understanding anything, and finds him holding a girl and tying her. So he asks him, what are you doing? So he says to him, this girl was going to watch my sister. So Zan approaches her and prepares himself to hit her. At the same time, a group belonging to that girl is standing on one of the rooftops, and they are wondering why she is very late. But suddenly Zan and Lynn come from behind them while carrying that girl in their hands. So they look at them shocked, so Lynn and Zan rush at them and eliminate them. They search their bodies, and find the logo of one of the biggest families in the city, which is the Aoyang family, and it is the family of his sister's coworker. So when Lynn knows this, he becomes very angry, and vows that he will kill him himself, because he does not know the danger threatening his sister. On the other side, Lynn's sister's coworker is sitting in his house, and receives a call from his assistant, informing him that his men whom he sent to protect his friend all fainted. So Lynn's sister's coworker stays silent for a while, and says to him, take them to the hospital first, and then send other men. And after he ends the call, and sits with himself for a while, he thinks that Mono's brother is the one who did this, and hits the glass of the window with his hand, and says, I will not let you harm her ever. At the same time, Lynn and Zan go to his sister to take the dog from her. So Lynn takes out a necklace from his pocket and gives it to his sister, and says to her, if you feel that you are in danger, just press the button. You will find me next to you immediately. So his sister remembers the words of her coworker that she is in real danger. And when she starts connecting the events together, she understands that her coworker was not lying, and says to herself, I will not involve my younger brother in something like this. And goes to him and pushes him to take the dog, and he leaves immediately after that. At night, Mono is sitting in her house, and at the same time Shizan is sitting watching her. So a strange car comes and stops in front of her house. And the person who is supposed to marry her gets out of it, and his name is Aoyang, and he is with his men. So he says to her, you look ready for the wedding. I came to take you now. I brought my men because your brother said that you have a group of friends like flies who might appear at any moment. So Mono goes and gets into the car while she is sad and upset, because she is forced into this marriage by her family elders, and she looks at him while leaving and insults him. So Aoyang looks at her angrily and rushes at her and grabs her by her neck, and says to her, if it was not for your father, I would have killed you long ago. All this is because of a despicable agreement between the two families, and Aoyang throws her hard on the ground, in front of Shizan, who is watching them while shocked. So Ayang says to her, do not worry, I will not hurt you. But I do not guarantee the rest of my family members, so Mono responds to him, as long as you do not want me, then kill me. So he says to her, unfortunately, if it was up to me, I would have done that long ago. Anyway, hurry up, get in the car. And suddenly Yatin comes to them with his men and stands in front of him. So Mono looks at him shocked and asks him, why did you come here? So he responds to her, I will never hear your screams and leave you without helping you. So Ayang's mechanical men move and stand in front of them and surround Yatin and his men. So Ayang says to them, it seems you do not know who this is. Mono will be my future wife. So Mono looks at them with tears in her eyes and asks them to leave safely and says to them, I volunteered for this. So Yatin looks at her and says, even if you say that I will never leave from here, we will beat all his men and save you from him. And Yatin unites with his friends and prepares for the fight. They rush together at the mechanical men and hit them with strong punches, but they are quickly shocked when they realize that they were not affected by their hits. And one of the mechanical men grabs two of Yatin's friends by their heads and throws them hard on the ground, and the other goes to Yatan and takes advantage of him not focusing and hits him hard in his stomach. So Mono tries to escape from Ayang, who is holding her tightly, to help them, but she cannot. So Ayang puts his hand on her mouth and says to her, I do not want to hear your voice at all now, and pulls her hard by her hair and takes her to the car by force and puts her inside it. So Yatan stands up from the ground when he hears her screams and brings out all his power and rushes at one of Ayang's men, but quickly the robot hits him in his face. So Mono looks at Ayang and begs him to stop his men before they kill them. So Ayang grabs her hard by her face and slams her into the car glass and says to her, I told you before, I do not want to hear your voice. And then these insects are the ones who came here and ruined my mood. At the same time, the robots are beating Yatin and his men amid tears from Mono. And one of the robots grabs Yatan by his head and punches him with several strong punches. So Mono reaches her limit and cannot endure any more than that, and she creates a sword made of ice and puts it on Aoyang's neck, and suddenly, Shizan shoots a bullet at him from far away, but Aoyang notices it and catches it with his hand before it hits him, and fires it from his hand and hits Shizan's leg. So Shizan falls from the tree shocked by this skill, but Aoyang does not stop there, and uses his wind ability and throws it at him, so the wind comes down on Shizan like a sword, and manages to inflict severe injuries on him, and after that he slaps Mono hard. So Mono says to him while crying, please, I will do everything you want, just let them live. So he responds to her, I will not only kill them, I will torture them until death. And at the same time, one of the robots goes to Shizan after he finished Yatin and his men, and prepares to shoot him and kill him. But before the strike reaches him, Lynn quickly goes to him and saves him. So Shizan looks at him while smiling, and says to him, you finally came. So Lynn takes out the fire sword and rushes at the robots, and goes to the first one and splits him into two halves. So the rest of the robots stand in front of him and fire at him all at once. But suddenly Lynn avoids this attack, and comes from behind them and hits them with one strike using the sword, and manages to split them all into two halves. At the same time, news reaches Aoyang that all his forces have been destroyed, and he sees from his watch Lynn holding the legendary fire sword that was lost from the hero Zero. So Aoyang looks at him and laughs, and says the weapon he has is very dangerous. I will take it from him at any cost. After that, Lin goes with his team to their headquarters, and Yan says to them, while afraid, do you really want to go to the Aoyang family and save Mono? This family is one of the biggest families in the city, and there are also very powerful robots there, and if they send an army of them at us, we will all die. So Zan says to him, yes, we will go. Do not forget that Mono is our friend, and we must protect her. Do you want the sacrifice of Mr. Yatin and Shizan to be in vain? So Yan surrenders to reality, and is forced to agree to go with them. And suddenly Shishin, the leader of the music band, enters to them, and says to them, I heard that Miss Mono is in great danger. I came here to help you and save her with you. So the four of them go to Asha, and she says to them, I hacked the family's defense system. So they look at her happily, and then they sit with her to make a plan to enter the place. And Asha says to them, Aoyang and Mono's wedding ceremony will be in this headquarters tomorrow night. And unfortunately Mono did that to calm the anger of the family, after you killed the previous president of the organization, who was one of the family. So Lin looks at her with intense anger, and vows to take them down one by one, and he wants to go there as soon as possible. So they all try to calm him down, and Zan says to him, we know that you are very strong, but we must think correctly. Because of our recklessness, Shizan and Mr. Yetan and his men got seriously injured. To save Mono this time, we must plan well, so that no one else gets hurt. Anyway, Shishin will take his fans and go to the headquarters there, and make protests to distract attention. And as for Asha, destroy all the surveillance cameras in the place. On the next day, they go to the Aoyang family headquarters to execute their plan, and at the same time, Baston goes to Mono and asks her, "Are you sure about what you are doing?" So she responds to her, "Unfortunately, I cannot do anything. This is the decision of my whole family." And suddenly Aoyang enters to them and goes to Mono and grabs her hard and asks her, "Who is this person named Lynn? I want his fire sword," and throws her hard on the ground and says to her, "I wanted to make a deal with him at first, but now it seems he brought his dogs and came here, so I will take the sword from him and kill him in front of you," and then he leaves. On the other side, Lynn and his friends try to storm the place, and Lynn is wearing a mask to hide his identity, and suddenly Baston comes to them and asks who is here, so Yen reveals himself, so Baston's friend appears to fight them, so Yen approaches them and fights with them. So Lynn and Zan take advantage of what happened, and go quickly to save Mono, and enter the family house, specifically the room where Mono is, but they find 2 guards at the door, so Zan goes in front of them and fights them to distract them. So Lynn takes advantage of that and enters to Mono quickly. But she does not recognize him because of his mask, and she creates her ice and prepares for the fight. But when Lynn removes the mask and she recognizes him, she asks him, "Why did you come here?" So he extends his hand to her and says, "Come on, let's escape quickly. Our friends will not keep holding them for long." So Mono says to him, "I will not be able to leave. I will be fine. I promise my family that I will not cause problems again." And Mono creates ice and tries to hit him, but Lynn grabs her quickly and says to her, "I will not leave you alone in this problem. I will not leave here unless you are with me. Do not let the sacrifice of Shison and Mr. Yaten be in vain." So Mono looks at him while crying and says to him, "That is why I cannot go anywhere. I do not want anyone else to get hurt because of me. The Aoyang family is one of the strongest families in the city. If they get angry, it will not be good." So he responds to her, "We are all friends, and as I told you, I will not leave here unless you are with me." And Lin takes out his sword and destroys the place, and extends his hand to her so they can leave. After that, Lin and Mono leave the place, but they suddenly find Zan being thrown at them. And when they look ahead, they find Aoyang and 2 of his robots standing with him, so Mono looks at him while trembling. So Lin holds her hand to calm her, and says to Aoyang, "Are you not ashamed of yourself? And you are waiting for a woman to save the reputation of 2 great families." And Lin removes his mask, and says to him, "I will challenge you to a fight. If I win, I will take Mono with me. And if you win, I am ready to help you prepare your wedding." So Aoyang responds, "Not enough, I want your fire sword." So Mono says to Lin, while afraid Aoyang is one of the strongest men in the 2 families, "You will surely lose easily." So Lin reassures her and says, "I am not that weak, I am sure I will defeat him easily." After that, they go to the battle arena, and Mono's family head and her brother are watching the fight with the head of the Aoyang family, to witness who will win themselves, and Aoyang explains what is happening to those watching, and about the agreement that happened between him and Lin. So when Mono's brother hears that, he leaves the place and walks away, so Lin's sister's co-worker, who is from the Aoyang family, looks at him and decides to follow him, because he feels betrayal from him. After a while, Aoyang stands in front of Lin, so Lin takes out his weapon and prepares for the fight, and as soon as the battle bell rings, Aoyang throws an electric field at him, but Lin manages to block it, and rushes at him with his sword, and they enter into a strong clash, and Lin brings his sword down on Aoyang, but he manages to make a shield and block the strike, and activates a skill from his finger, but Lin manages to avoid it, and both of them deliver a strong punch to each other, so a strong explosion happens in the place. So Aoyang throws rings of energy at him, but Lin blocks them all, so Aoyang suddenly rushes at him to surprise him, but Lin notices him, and throws his sword at him. So Aoyang quickly moves and avoids the sword, so Lin comes from behind him and hits him in his face, and throws him hard to the ground. So Aoyang stands up and looks at him while laughing, and wears his gloves, and brings rocks from the ground and throws them at him. But Lin avoids them, and brings his sword down on him, so Aoyang quickly makes several consecutive shields to block the attack, but they all break except the last one, and before the last one breaks at the last moment, Aoyang grabs Lin's sword quickly before it hits him, so Lin stands up and delivers a strong punch to his face and throws him away, and he releases the dragon power from his sword and prepares to kill him, and rushes at him strongly. So Aoyang looks at him while confused, and tries to bring rocks from the ground to block the attack, but when he cannot block it, he makes a shield and tries to stop the attack, but the shield quickly breaks, and Aoyang gets seriously injured. So Lin says to him this strike is revenge for Shisan. So Aoyang stands up and refuses to surrender, and releases a massive aura from his hand, and turns it into a giant sword, and brings it down on him hard. But Lin is not affected by the strike. So the leaders and Mono look at him shocked and cannot believe themselves, because how did he avoid that strike? So Lin rushes at Aoyang and kicks him in his face, and slams him into the wall hard. So Aoyang removes his cloak, and stands up again and refuses to surrender, and looks at him very angry, and throws a very dangerous spell at him. So the head of the Aoyang family looks at him shocked, and orders everyone to leave the place quickly. Suddenly a very big explosion happens, to the point that the battle arena is destroyed. So Mono goes to them to check on Lin because she cannot see anything from the amount of smoke, and she meets Yan, who is supporting Zan, who came to the arena to watch the fight. And suddenly they notice Aoyang flying in the air surrounded by a very large aura of energy. So Mono looks at him while afraid, and starts calling Lin, whose location she does not know. So Lin appears from the smoke without being affected by any strike. So Aoyang looks at him shocked and angry, and throws a huge amount of energy at him. But Lin releases the dragon power of the sword and throws it at Aoyang, so he is heavily affected and falls to the ground, and Lin manages to win the fight in the end. So Mono goes to him to celebrate with him. But suddenly something unexpected happens, and Mono falls to the ground and does not move, so Lin looks at the others, and finds that the same thing happened to them as well. And not only that, but it spreads in this city as well. At the same time, the lab where Lin's sister works is completely destroyed, and all the doctors are dead and Lin's sister and her co-worker are unconscious. And Mono's brother is sitting on the device that Lin's sister was using for experiments, and is draining the consciousness of all humans, and says my life dream was to become a hero like Zero. All people cheer his name. Suddenly, Mono's brother goes to Lin quickly, and says to him while laughing, I took the power of all the humans present, prepare for severe torture from me, and Mono's brother releases the power of a tiger and attacks him. But strangely, Lin manages to destroy this attack easily, to the point that Mono's brother is affected. So he looks at him with intense anger, and says to him, how dare you do this? I will give you a last chance to surrender, and if you refuse, I will kill you with my own hands. So Lin looks at him and does not respond. So Mono's brother brings rocks from the ground and brings down storms from the sky and attacks him with all of this. But suddenly Lin avoids all of that and comes from behind him and enters with him into a very strong clash. So Mono's brother releases a huge energy and throws it at him and says to him, I will kill you just like I killed your sister. So Lin falls to the ground from the strength of the strike. So Mono's brother goes to him to finish him. Suddenly, he is transported to a strange world and sees strange faces and loud screams, and when he turns his face to the other side, he finds Lin holding his sister while crying, and looks into his eyes and becomes angry, and we return to our world again, and Lin stands up from the ground, and says to him, I will make you regret what you did, I will torture you until you die, and Lin transforms himself into the hero Zero, and releases a huge amount of energy, and stands in front of him in the form of Zero for the first time since the giant dragon. So Mono's brother looks at him shocked, and cannot believe that Lin is the hero Zero, and brings down many storms from the sky, and throws them at him, so Lin releases a red beam, and manages to eliminate the storms, and attacks him strongly, and manages to inflict severe injuries on him. So Mono's brother gathers all his energy, and transforms into a giant monster, and brings his hand down hard on him. So Lin jumps quickly into the air, and stands on his shoulder, and says to him, I will use a technique on you, that I have not used for a long time, and takes out Zero's fire sword. And a tremendous and infinite power comes out of it, and he strikes Mono's brother with it, and throws him away. So he stands up from the ground again, and says, it is true you are the strongest hero in history, but I will never surrender, I will never accept defeat. Even if you are the hero Zero, you still can die. So Lin takes out his sword and fires its beams at him, so Mono's brother tries to block them, but they are so strong that they reach space, and Mono's brother falls to the ground completely finished, and huge explosions happen to him. So Lin goes to him and stands in front of him, and points his sword at him, and says seeking true power will not solve all your problems, and approaches him and touches him with his sword. And suddenly Mono's brother feels severe pain, as if he is burning. And Lin pulls all his power from him, through his sword, and returns himself to his normal Lin form. So Mono's brother says to him, my power compared to your power is nothing. I am nothing compared to you, but I still do not understand, how did you become this strong? So Lin removes his robe, and shows him the scars on his body. So Mono's brother looks at him shocked. So Lin says to him, before I took a stab in my chest from the fire sword. As for my shoulder, that was when I was attacking alien creatures. Every scar on my body, I was facing the strongest monsters and people in the world. And every time I killed them I stole their power. But after I killed all that number, I could not even know who I am. I am still lost among people. So Mono's brother says to him, I am surprised that you are able to live until now. This is truly a miracle. And his body begins to collapse and fade away, and the last thing he sees is the hero Zero in his full power. So Lin looks at him while laughing and then leaves. After that, Lin goes to the lab where his sister works and sits next to her while she is unconscious. And when she opens her eyes, she finds her brother sitting next to her and asks him, what are you doing here? So he responds, my sister was in trouble, and I can never leave her alone. Where is the necklace that I gave you? So she says to him, I did not want to put you in danger, so I threw it away. So he responds to her, I am supposed to be registered in the Heroes Guild. I am very strong anyway. If something like this happens again, you must call me immediately. And suddenly Lynn receives a message from Mono, saying to him, I want to meet you in a place alone. At sunset, Lynn goes to stand by the sea and waits for her, and remembers every beautiful moment with her, when he met her for the first time, and the times of the battles he fought with her. And when he saved her from Aoyang, and suddenly Mono comes and stands next to him, and he asks her, are you really going to leave the city and travel? So she responds, unfortunately, yes. I will go to another city and start again. I will go there and work as a teacher for the Heroes organization in that area. And Mono says goodbye to him and leaves. So Lynn looks at her and says goodbye as well.